Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building a new nation. I am Adingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, youth leaders call for calm over Shirkat incident, where scores have been killed in series of interconnected events. The government has opened an inquiry into the tragic situation, which led to some revenge killings around Juba. Joining us in the program to speak about this are Honorable Dr. Albino Boldiu, Minister for Youth and Sports. Welcome to the program. And also joining us is Abusha Ali Malo, Chairman, SPLM Youth League. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Fixing South Sudan and all the viewers.
And least but not least, Gola Boyoy Gola, Chairman, South Sudan Youth Union. Pleasure to have you in the program.
Thank you for having me in the program.
Welcome to all of you and welcome to the program. And Honorable Minister, let me start with you. We have witnessed some sad events in the last few days, and there are a lot of emotions about what happened, and there has been an investigation ordered. And how do you make sense of what has been happening? Welcome.
First, I want to pay my condolences for the victims and whoever lost his life in this unfortunate crisis, including the one lady. And I want to say that crimes always happen in the society. But the most dangerous part of it, and this is very unfortunate, is when this crime is always manipulated and connected to a certain community. This proved to us that South Sudan is a very fragile country where if you, Mading, or myself as Albino commit a crime, always my tribe has to be connected with this. We condemn it seriously. And I'm not here at my capacity to make judgment who was wrong and who was victim. That thing actually is a legal part aspect of the problem, and it has to be left to the legal apparatus. As we have seen, our president yesterday has formed a committee led by legal people and all concerned ministries of security. And I believe this is the good starting point. But I'm here to talk to my people of South Sudan, especially the communities who are residing in Shirkat. Shirkat is a resident where all South Sudanese are there, but majority of them are those from Barghazal and those from Bor. I want to say that there is no Barghazal without Upper Nile, and there is no Upper Nile without Equatoria. And there is no South Sudan without these three regions and the 10 state plus 3 administrative areas. This is a very important concept. If we know that all of us need ourselves, all of us as South Sudanese, we fought together and we have liberated this country, I believe we will have that spirit always to consider any crime that happened as an individual liability in the society, but not a communal kind of thing. So We need to have this concept because we are a nation. Even in the developed countries, America and Europe, crimes happen. And these people are taken on their individual base, but not on a communal base. Community has nothing to do with this.
You are touching an important point, and that when the incident happened, it quickly devolved into ethnic angle, and there have been killings associated with what is perceived to have happened, and there have been protests in Shirkat, in Bor, in Panyagor, in Jonglei State. And what do you say to those young people who are behind those protests?
I think there are people who are fishing in this dirty water, and they want to connect it for a regime change agenda. As we have seen, Salva Kiir must go. What is the connection of Salva Kiir with this incident? If we assume that the one who committed that problem is a son of Salva Kiir himself, that is a mature person that can be accounted as an individual and can explain himself, and the judgment at the end of the day has to be left to the government. I want to tell the youth who are targeting certain individual, whether from Bor or from Shirkat or from Baharagazal, those who have that mentality, this is a sickness, we have to get rid of it. All of us are dear citizens to this nation, and all of us have right to live wherever we are living. I think we need to defend our territories as South Sudanese people. There are Bor in Baharagazal, there are Bor in Equatoria, there are Bor in Upper Nile, and the reverse is true. All South Sudanese people are scattered all over South Sudan. And nobody has the right to say, you go to your place, because this country, we fought together and we liberated it together in order for us to live in a peaceful coexistence and harmony among ourselves. The serious thing that I want to condemn is the role of intellectual. There are people who are posting poisonous kind of posts on social media, and even in the intellectual forums. There are people who are really exposing their real personality to be a purely tribal people who are always fueling the crisis. And I want to say that nobody is happy by the death of anyone. And we better stop with this number of the people that have lost their life, and we don't call for more injuries and more death. This will cause a revenge killing, and nobody will be able to control it at the end of the day. So my point is that those who are thinking of this such a way of fueling the process, the problem, let us revise ourselves and let us think bigger, that South Sudan is a country for all of us.
Do you say as a national government that those actors who are behind this situation should put faith in the government and wait for the investigative committee to finish its work?
Absolutely. This is what any accused person has to be given a chance, as they said in the law, that any accused person is innocent till proven guilty. And the government has already stepped in. The first day we have seen the Chief of Defense Forces of the People's Defense Forces, and we have seen the IGP, and we have seen the Director of National Security and Director of MI. All of them were in Shirkat, and they have arrested those who have been alleged to be committing these crimes, and they are now in the jail. And even Lual has passed away, and we have now seen his body. All these incidences are to be investigated properly. And then the government authorities now will come out with a clear message, what has been intensified, what led to that unfortunate incidences. Till that time, we need to refrain ourselves from this propaganda.
Thank you very much. Angola, Boyoy, let me bring you in here. Most of the people involved in this are young people, they are youth and under your union, and there have been a lot of hard feelings from many sides. And what do you say about these events that have been unfolding? Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to extend my heartfelt condolences
to the families who lost their loved one, and I wish a speedy recovery to wounded one. This incident was unfortunate, and the only problem that I found in South Sudan is generalization. And if I commit a crime today, they will not look at me as Gola is the one committed crime. They look at my tribe. And this is totally wrong. We need to look for a way on how we can refer the crimes at individual levels. The person who committed the crime is supposed to be handled as individual levels, and we could not involve community or tribes or regions or even a family. And unfortunately, the intelligentsia or the intellectual are the one fueling the crisis more than the people who we think that they are ignorant, which are supposed to be educated by the intelligentsia. So the problem is the generalization, and we need to put it in our education system in order to make sure that we build a generation that they have new ideas, have kind of understanding the crimes to be taken at individual level. And there was no justification of people who went further, insulting the president, trying to bring their own agenda, calling for regime change. There was no any justification for that, because the problems was between two individuals and they fought. And then after the shooting war started, the authorities came in and the suspect was arrested and is going to be facing the law or is going to be taken to the court of law. So let us not always generalize things. Let us look at a crime as individual levels.
And speaking about generalization, it has taken that ethnic tenor, and we have seen some killings that are, they happen to be revenge killings, if you will. And what do you say to those who are behind such kind of crimes as they are, and others who are contemplating the same?
Yeah, actually, as I put it before, the intellectuals are the one fueling, unfortunately, they are the one fueling this crisis. And if you go to social media, you will find a lot of propaganda. And the propaganda have played a big role in fueling this crisis. You may find someone who wrote Facebook posts that someone from Barghazal has been killed in Bor. Without a clear verification of this propaganda, if someone from Barghazal had that, he will take a revenge without even analyzing, is it true or not? So the use of social media by our young people is also affecting. And unfortunately, also our politicians or elders are believing so much on propaganda. And this is something we need to work on it as the young generation in order how we're supposed to stop propaganda on social media, and also our leaders not to believe in propaganda. And I suggest if it's going to be a legal, law that will govern this use of social media. In other countries like the United States, in Kenya, there are actually, there is a law that you cannot just post anyhow. If you remember 2016 crisis, it was fueled by the posts on social media. So we need to look into how are we going to manage the social media, because everyone can just write anyhow. And this is totally wrong, and we need to call our young people to be rational on what are you going to post, what are you posting, to make sure that we are not fueling the crisis. But at this juncture, we are calling on the use of South Sudan to stop this issue of believing on propaganda, and you need to stop this. This crime has been handled by the government, and good enough, the president has issued a decree yesterday forming a committee to investigate to this issue. So now this issue has been taken as a serious issue by the leadership of South Sudan, and the committee has been formed. Let us wait for the outcome of the committee, and also to give the justice a chance to look into this issue.
Thank you very much. I am going to devote a lot of time later on to social media, because it has a catalytic role to play in the development and also can do the reverse. Let me hear from Abusha Ali Malo, who is the chairman of SPLM Youth League. And what do you say about this tragic situation which is developing into communal interfighting in the capital city? And this threatens the national security of the country. What is your take on what has been happening?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dolgo Media. You know, as SFLM youth, we are really saddened seeing our people dying in a very reckless and senseless manner. Because the incident of Shirkat was a very reckless and senseless incident. And therefore, I condemn it in the strongest term possible, because this time is a time people should be breathing now peace. Because for 21 years, South Sudanese had been very busy. There was no rest completely. And also from 2013, 2016 until 2018, the country was not at peace. But now, within this short time, it is a window of peace. We should be experiencing peace. Our people should be enjoying the dividends of peace in the country, not killing themselves again. As SPLM, we feel very sad and we condemn it in the strongest term possible. Number two, we want to register our sincere condolences to the families of those who have lost their dear ones and to those who have sustained injuries. We wish them quick recovery. You know, something came in my mind. The incident was between two people. That should have been treated as an isolated case, a case between two South Sudanese. Those who came in should have only come to separate and maybe act as judges. But what involved killing is what has perturbed us and has beaten our understanding. Now, if you see on social media, which we will discuss later as you put it, if you saw on the road that day, majority of the people who came on the road were youth. Some of them were not even in the scene when the incident took place. Maybe they got information from their friends or relatives and they just popped in. And this is why there is an element of invisible hands in this. And the invisible hands, to me, are the enemies of peace. And these probably hands could be pointed on politicians who may not be contented with the peace in the country. So young people up to this time now should understand that this is the time we should be focusing on our future as young people, but not on killing ourselves. For how long should we continue killing ourselves? For how long should we continue orchestrating useless confrontations that do not contribute to nation building? It makes no sense completely. So our young people should understand that they should stand up for their own rights and see what is good for their future, not what destroys their future. What happened in Shirkat is what destroys directly their future and the future of the country, because it is useless completely. If you ask them now what was the cause of the fighting, I don't think 90% will not explain to you exactly, because they were not there in the scene.
There are real grievances that have been going on, and your point is that they are being exploited and they are going a different direction from what was intended. And looking beyond this incident, and as a leader of the youth, and political parties are the one that shape the people, their members, and what would you say is the SPLM plan for the youth to create awareness, not to generalize when there's a given situation, and also to be useful members who can contribute to nation building?
The bigger plan of SPLM is to make South Sudan and the citizens, especially the youth, live in a prosperous manner and live in peace and in a prosperous way. That is the bigger plan of the party. And for us to execute that, there has to be peace in the country first. Now, after peace, automatically the party will embark on those intrinsic values that bring prosperity to our young people. One is we advocate as a party for, we have to make our country economically viable. Once the country is economically viable, all these crises, the problems you see now will quench, will go down. And for the country to be economically viable, it is being encompassed by a lot of things. Education is number one. Providing health services also, and road network. You have seen now our President, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit, has commissioned the construction of major highways. This is, the beginning and the continuation of bringing services closer to the communities of South Sudan. The next thing now is empowering or reactivating, provision of free and compulsory primary education. I hope if it was not for coronavirus, it would have this time been re-engaged seriously with that. All young people should go to primary school free and compulsory. There is also going to be free.
And which is going to eradicate ignorance.
Ignorance and illiteracy. We will also provide pre-medical services, which has already been started, but it is going to continue and it is going to improve more. All we ask from the young people now is they should give SPLM a chance. There is no point why our people should continue dying. There is no point why we protest. Yes, what happened was very ugly. All of us did not like it, but killing, revenge killing, and protest is not the way to go, because the government has already taken measures. So we should allow government and the law to take its course first and see the outcome.
Thank you very much. And Gola, let me have you comment on the fact that youth have practical needs. Then we'll take it to the minister. They want jobs, they want employment, and they want to have a future. And most of the idleness that we have seen around the nation has to do with the fact that they are not engaged. Can you highlight some of your plans? You just came in, but I'm sure you're dreaming big. And where does it begin?
Yeah, actually, we were having a plan of conducting peace conferences at the state level. But let me go back to fixing South Sudan. When I first had your program about fixing South Sudan, I thought of the only way to fix South Sudan was through education. Until last night, when I went through the social media, WhatsApp groups, Facebook, I became having low opinion on, can we really fix South Sudan through education? Because if the educated people, they are the ones fueling the crisis, then how are we going to fix South Sudan? Because our program at the National Youth Union, we have youth empowerment programs, we have educational program that we want to engage with the partners, especially the government and other stakeholders, UN agencies, to make sure that we educate the young people to create a new generation that later on will change the general perspective that we have now. But when we found that the educated people, the young people especially, they are the one now fueling the crisis, I personally start having low opinion. But we cannot give up. We need to engage them in terms of entrepreneurship, and I think the minister is here. We discussed a lot of programs that we are going to implement for the youth. The issue of unemployment, most of them maybe they are desperate. They don't have jobs. They're just at home. They have graduated from the college.
Some have skills, some
don't
have
have the skills. That's why when we were campaigning, we concentrate much on vocational training centers, because most of our students, they study political science, law, which will not take them direct to the job opportunities. So we need to come up with a plan on how are we going to give them skills that require from the market or from the job opportunities. So the only way is to focus on vocational training centers to build professionals that can be taken to a job direct from the college. And this is long-term plan that need the support of the government, and the lack of resources is one of the issues. But in our meeting with the president, we discussed this long-term plan, and he accepted that the union should be given a budget in order to execute their program. And the minister is also a young man who is actually knowing the challenges and the problem facing the young people in the country because he's one of us. So I think we are lucky enough, and I think this program is going to be implemented. We are going to focus on youth empowerment, small-scale businesses for the young people, through also vocational training centers that is going to be introduced to make sure that we're building the capacity building of the young people.
Thank you very much. And Honorable Minister, I would like to invite you back to the discussion. And before the formation of the government, at some point you used to sit in this seat. And now you are over here. And that means that you have an agenda for the youth. You got the position and the burden of the responsibility. What do you do to engage the youth so that they don't engage in this kind of vicious cycle of generalization, tribalism, and all the things that we have been seeing?
I think, as from my experience as the president of youth previously, and I'm happy that Gola is the one who have succeeded me, and I'm very proud of himself as someone who is capable to lead the youth after me. I think from my experience we had two major problems in South Sudan. The issue of ignorance, the level of literacy is very high, and the issue of poverty. And all the cattle raiding and rampant killing that is happening in South Sudan are of socio-economic roots. Let me be honest. Social problem simply because you are ignorant. I don't know why you are from Bor and why I'm from Awil and why he's from Murle and why he's from Mundare. That kind of thing, because out of my ignorance, I feel like I'm the most powerful person, I'm the most proud person, I'm the most expensive one. I have that superior conflict, looking on others as if they are to work under me and they are my servants. This is where the problem started. So when I see my tribe men being killed, I have to start without any directives and go and take a revenge. What I want to say is that if we treat this issue of illiteracy and educate our people, I think we will reach a level that the grassroots who are not educated will know their rights. Now the majority, the minority who have got a chance to get educated, the politicians, are not even consisting 2 or 3% of our population. And they are the one now dividing us based on semi-tribal lines to kill ourselves, simply because they are deceiving youth that when we come to the power, we will get for you job opportunities, we will give you money to do businesses, we will give you this and we'll give you that. They will wait as to take any opportunity, any avenue that can lead into uprising and can lead to a chance to raise a slogan of Salva-Kiir must go and the government of the day must go.
And how do you counter that for the
now
medium to long term?
As I became the minister, one of my priorities is the issue of the budget of National Youth Union, all together with the Youth Coalition organization, including the political parties youth forum. They have to come through the National Youth Budget, annual budget for the year 2020 and 2021. We put it there first for the peace awareness. All the reconciliation that has been happening in our country were intellectual-based reconciliation, were elites, were agreement between elites. We didn't have that community-based reconciliation. We didn't have that grassroots reconciliation. And as long as youth are the 72% of population, then the National Youth Union now and the ministry have a role to play to reconcile all the youth on this.
Everything stops with the resources. And is it your indication that the resources
we are going to have
mobilized?
resources because His Excellency the President is more aware and attentive to the issues of youth, because youth are the 72%. And if we want really peace to be achieved in South Sudan, we need to engage this 72%. Second aspect of the priorities is the issue of entrepreneurship. And now we have been connected with a lot of business people. It is only this coronavirus that we need to fight it. So when it subsided, then we will start immediately with this entrepreneurship of the projects, including agricultural projects to the youth who have been getting skills on agricultural techniques, and microfinances to the youth. And when I was in the National Youth Union leadership, I was pushing for the youth to have that government loan in order to enable them to run their small businesses. Now, as the minister, I think these are my priorities with the help of the National Youth Union and the SPLM Youth League. Coming to the point that Comrade Daniel has mentioned and Gola mentioned, that involving our tribes in our personal issues is not the solution.
And now social media is amplifying that message and sending it to everyone across the globe, even in the villages, those who have the smartphones. What is your take on social media, and how can it be reined in? Because it is destroying the young fabric.
I think those activists who are fueling the crisis and those who are just watching and making themselves neutral are equal in this crime. Because as I do believe that, as one of the philosophers once said, that the only necessary thing for the triumph of evil is for the good man to do nothing. If I see that this is wrong, I have to condemn it. Mistakes happen, crimes happen. We will never live in a country where there will be no murder case. But the solution is not the citizen to kill that murderer, rather than the law to kill that murderer.
What do we do with social media?
The social media, my advice to all the activists is that social media is meant for socialization, for preaching peace and harmony among our communities, for posting positive things, making awareness on certain endemic or pandemic diseases. This is what meant by social media, but it was not meant to post the poisonous statements that will fuel and that will kill. Your statement while you are seated in your house or while you are laying on your bed, a single statement can kill 10 or 20 people somewhere, because our people are not educated enough and they are emotional. When you are emotional, you can commit a crime.
There's a lot of incitement. Do you say that as the Minister of Youth, you will look into criminalizing some aspects?
Of course. Of course, we are going to raise a motion, especially as long as young ones are the one now taking lead on this. It has to come through either the youth organization or the national ministry.
There have to be consequences for incitement.
Yes. So anyone who posts any tribal kind of statement, any incitative statement, has to be held accountable, regardless who is he or who is she.
Thank you very much. And let me get you to comment on social media and how to bring it under control, because there are excesses, the negative aspect of social media.
Yeah, actually, as I mentioned it earlier, this is one of the most dangerous things, especially in South Sudan. The young people found themselves have free access of writing things on social media, and this is really dangerous. So the only way is to look into act that will criminalize everything that written on social media. We have to make sure that there is a law to govern how people should use the social media, and supposed to be also restrictions on how you can write on social media. Because, but most importantly, as intellectual and also as leaders, we need most of the time to verify the information that we are getting circulated on social media, because it's happened that people lose their lives because of one single post on social media, and this is really dangerous. Your freedom will end when others' freedom starts. So we have to be mindful on using the social media, and I want to urge the young people of South Sudan to try at least to minimize the way that they are using use social media in a positive way, not in negative way.
And we should underscore that social media is not mainstream media, which people don't know the differences. And because the mainstream media is rather slow and cannot catch up with social media, is unable to give out accurate information in time to debunk some of the rumors that are spread on social media. Your quick point, Abosha, about social media.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, last year I made a research, very comprehensive research on the usage of social media in East Africa by the young people. I discovered that social media has been wrongly used in South Sudan by the young people generally. And after the independence, I also discovered that the crisis of 2013 were fueled by social media, and also the 2016 crisis were amplified by social media. So I discovered that social media has caused more harm than good to the people of this country.
There has to be some kind of regulation.
Yes. Now, last year also, we even approached the National Ministry of Information to try to push them to regulate the usage of social media by the young people, by either, tracking everybody who is involved in using the social media, or raising the fare for acquiring bundles.
Like in Uganda.
Like in Uganda. This is one way of trying to quell down the misuse of social media. And to shed more light on what my brother Golai mentioned earlier on, Golai was right to say he got disappointed when he sees young people, instead of dwelling on developmental issues, even if you have your own problem with your wife at home, you force them on social media. Why all this? This is because of illiteracy and ignorance.
And he's even saying that we have to educate the educated.
Now, the problem is that there are few educated people, and they are less, and majority are not educated. So the few educated people are exploiting those who are not educated to misuse social media in the country. And Comrade Madingor, as an SPLM, we will not feel comfortable to see a country that has killed more than 2.5 million people, venturing again into another war and another senseless war through either social media or communal fight. We feel very disappointed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And let me just end on this note and going back to the incident that started this conversation, and that is the Shirkat, the sad events of Shirkat, and talking about fixing South Sudan. You cannot do it without fighting burgeoning tribalism, and Shirkat has been worsened by the fact that there are tribal perceptions that my person has been killed, I have to take law into my hand. What do you say as the SPLM about fighting tribalism and to not use it as the basis for making any decisions? Very quickly.
Yes, as SPLM, I think we need to remind our people to reflect back on our values, the values for which we started the liberation struggle. There were no communal fighting by then, because if there were communal fighting, we wouldn't have reached where we are today. There would have been no country called South Sudan today. Let us reflect back, especially the young people. We reflect our history, the painful history that brought us to where we are today. Number one. Number two, our people should know that we don't have another country somewhere. There is no another South Sudan somewhere. This is the only soil that God has given us. For that matter, it is imperative for us to accept ourselves and live in peace than to kill ourselves, since there is no spare part for South Sudan.
Let's fix it.
We must fix South Sudan by living in peace.
Thank you very much. And the same question about the role of tribalism among the youth and connecting back to Shirkat incident being fueled by tribalism.
Yeah, actually, thank you very much. I want to go back a little bit, even before the signing of the CPA. You know, when we were fighting Arab regime, we were picture Sudan as only two parts, northern and southern part. Northern Sudan, we see them as an Arab Muslims, and they are brown. We see South Sudanese as a black Christians and Africans. And the vision of South Sudan was talking of unity in diversity of all Sudan. Assuming South Sudan is united, but after the independence, we found ourselves, we have regionalism, tribalism, even sectionalism. So to fight that is actually something required a lot of work to be done through research to find out what are the root cause of all this understanding. Because we become divided as a regional basis, Barghazal, Equatoria, Upper Nile. After that, we divide it into the states, and then from there, tribes, and then sections. And within the section, we go to the families, which is totally wrong. We need to look into it and find a way, especially the ruling party as the SPLM. They need to try to look into it. What was the vision of New Sudan, comparing to our case in South Sudan, leave alone the big picture of Sudan. Let us come down and look into diversity, unity in diversity in South Sudan. And this one, it needs a lot of work to be done.
Fighting tribalism
and sectionalism,
management.
And we need to manage the diversity.
Thank you very much. And Honorable Minister, tribalism is killing the country and going back to Shirkat. This is what is fueling the situation. What to do about it?
I think what we need to understand as South Sudanese is that our tribes were not a multiple choice on the tables. So to come and pick one, and now you make big proud because you have gained it by your muscles. And the second thing, I think what was uniting us really was the enemy himself. Because the enemy was not distinguishing Murle from Mundare and from Dinka. And that's why we unite ourselves. But after we got our independence, we fell short due to lack of national forums. But thank God enough now we have the National Youth Union as a national forum for the youth of South Sudan with all their political parties. And we have the political wing of the youth. And we have a good avenue. We have a good forum now called Fixing South Sudan. These are the forums that we will have always to use them in order to enlighten our people. I read a very interesting post on Facebook yesterday. One of the ladies said, I wish I could have become the God Almighty. I would have created South Sudan with only one tribe, one region. As if she want to send the message that our tribes, all these tribes are the problem. My message to those, that is a kind of frustrative statement, because she's very angry from the situation we are dealing with ourselves, the crime that we are committing among ourselves. Even the enemy himself of Khartoum did not practice such atrocities. My point of view in this is this. Being one tribe is not a solution, because Somalian people are one tribe, are one religion.
Homogeneous society.
And they are still fighting themselves. What we need to understand is that how we can live in a peaceful coexistence with all our diverse tribes. This is on purpose, diversity of purpose. This is where now Mr. Gola will find his interest in having you from Bor, and you find your interest in having him from Mundari. Now, for example, Mangala region is a place between Mundari and Bor and Bare communities. Bare communities can bring their goods from agricultural products. Mundari can bring meats and milk. Bor also can bring fish. And we meet in that market. This is unity on purpose, where all of us are having that mutual kind of relation. So my message to To those who think that your tribe is better than others, that is elusive thinking. We are in a 21st century. When you make proud of your contribution to the humanity, to the development of humanity, people now are embarking on inventing the coronavirus curative medicine. What is there now is just supportive medicine. People are now working day and night to discover the curative treatment.
And we are
this will be
bogged
the
down.
real contribution to the human development. But your tribe, who was behind it, is only God. And God wanted to let us know that when we live in this diversity of 64 tribes, South Sudan will be more colorful and will be more beautiful. So the tribal thinking, tribalism will take us nowhere. And I want to say clearly that we will never be called a nation till we refuse what our tribemen tell us.
Thank you very much, and that brings us to the end of this discussion, looking at the events in Shirkat. And with us have been Honorable Dr. Albino Boldiu, Minister of Youth and Sports, Abusha Ali Malo, Chairman, SPLM Youth League, and Gola Boyoy Gola, Chairman of South Sudan Youth Union. Thanks for coming to the program.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Public, when you laugh.